when my love, that heart is so cold.
Director Quentin Tarantino has been under fire and under pressure to apologize for this remark the other weekend at an anti-cop rally.
I am a human being with a conscience, and when I see murder, I cannot stand by, and I have to call the murdered, and I have to call the murderers, the murderers.
Police groups have been calling for boycotts of his films. Now Tarantino has just given his first public response to the controversy. He spoke to the LA Times. Tarantino says, quote, "All cops are not murderers. I never said that. I never even implied that. I'm not being intimidated. I'm not a cop hater. That is a misrepresentation. That is slanderous. That is not how I feel." And he adds, "I'm not taking back what I said. What I said was the truth." Dana Perino, the truth?
Well, I mean, all I have to know, we've watched that tape of his from the protests several times. I mean, I don't think that can be misinterpreted. So if he's saying that he's not taking it back, I'm going to take him at his word and think that what he said on that day is what he meant.
She's exactly right. So if he wants to double down, all right, let's play, Tarantino. Let's see. He's talking a big game, like Mr. Tough Guy. But he's showing no respect for the sanctity of human life. He's showing no respect for the police officers, men and women of color and diversity that put their life on the line every day and have bled and died to make our community safe. How can he look at himself in the mirror in the morning when he spews hate and ignorance?
Okay, so let me then speak in terms of, let's say, in favor of Tarantino.
Oh.
Tarantino says, "I never called all cops murderers."
Except when he said they're murderers.
No, he said there are some police who have engaged in tactics that have led to the death of people.
First of all, he didn't
but that's
say
not
that.
what he said.
That's not exactly what he said. And he also said that in the context of talking about Michael Brown and Ferguson, right? Mm-hmm. Which we, in hindsight, realized that that cop was not a murderer. He was found innocent of any murder charges, and it wasn't even brought up on murder charges, if I'm not mistaken, right, Kimberly? So for him to use that as an example and then say cops, this context, murders, I believe he did. I could be wrong. I'm not a lawyer, but I believe he did. I'm also a defender of the First Amendment, free speech.
Right.
Quentin Tarantino, you have a right to be an idiot and say that. But
people have a right to boycott.
Oh, no. I never called for boycott. Never once have I ever called for a boycott. Once have I.
You have a right, but everybody has a right to boycott if they don't like what Tarantino said.
My point is, you can call him a moron and an idiot for saying what he said,
right.
But don't. I would say not take it the one step further and boycott stuff, because you have a right to say stuff, even though it's
I think he has.
No, but you're for the free market stepping in, and if people you don't like what he said, then you don't have to go to his movie. But you're personally not going to call for a boycott as a general principle.
So, Jesse, but Tarantino, in addition to saying he didn't call all cop murders, but was talking about people in specific instances, he says the right is now trying to intimidate and shut him up and use him as an example to shut up anybody else who would talk about the abusive use of force by some police officers.
The guy's a great director, terrible actor. You have a white millionaire Hollywood star here, this guy, who's pretending like he is the victim.
Yes, he is.
He's saying he is being slandered. He calls cops murderers, but then he's the victim, and he's not going to be intimidated. I honestly can't believe that. I don't think this was the apology that Harvey Weinstein was looking for. I think now the movie's definitely going to tank. Weinstein, whatever. And let's look at the context of what he said, though. Remember what happened here. This is the guy that marched with a movement that called for the death of police, called police murderers, and this is a few days after a black NYPD officer was shot in the face by a convicted felon. I mean, Tarantino's in trouble here. I mean, you guys have been killing him every day. The papers have been killing him. He's turning into like a skinny Michael Moore at this point.
Well, he's
in a serious danger zone right now.
So part of the thinking at this table, but I think everywhere, is that he's under pressure not just from the police unions, but from Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah.
Harvey Weinstein. And Weinstein is distributing the film that's coming out in December, right?
We're going to have to apologize.
So Weinstein said today the Weinstein Company has a long-standing friendship with Quentin, and has a tremendous amount of respect for him as a filmmaker. We don't speak for Quentin. He can and should be allowed to speak for himself. Jesse, what's wrong with that?
That sounds like they're distancing themselves from Tarantino.
Yeah.
That's like he speaks for himself. We don't speak for Quentin. But we like him and he likes it. He makes money for us.
But exactly. So they didn't want to go the step further to say that he's wrong.
That's called a carefully crafted statement.
Right.
We got the message.
All right, so here's
How
Stephen
big?
Colbert, the late-night comedian. He took a break from making jokes yesterday to lend his support to the Black Lives Matter movement.
There are a lot of people out there talking about the use of excessive force by the police. And without courting any controversy, I want to say that the police have a very hard job putting their lives on the line. And the vast majority are good people. On the other hand, black people aren't imagining this stuff. So let me just take a moment here to say that I agree with how you feel. You know who you are. I feel strongly about that. And those people on the other side, wrong.
Well, how do you feel, Eric?
I think Stephen Colbert used to be funny. I'm not sure what happened to him. His numbers are wrong. The numbers don't bear that out. The numbers bear out that at the rate of which African Americans commit crime, it's commensurate with the amount of times that they end up dead at the hand of a cop. As if you take the same rate, it applies to the white people. There are far more white people who are killed at the other end of a cop's gun, but they commit. There are 83% of the country is white, 13 or 14% is black. I mean, the numbers are consistent. They're not people. Cops aren't killing African Americans at a higher rate than the African Americans are committing crime.
I don't think that's right. I think it's pretty clear that it's disproportionate to the population.
No, it's not.
Here's what I would say.
No, it is disproportionate to the population, but the rate of crime is disproportionate as well.
Yes, I was going to say, if you wanted to talk about crime, and especially violent crime, it's disproportionately concentrated in black and especially poor
so
black
they're more
neighborhoods.
likely to get killed.
But the idea that that would then excuse the use of, homicidal force, I don't think most Americans would be comfortable.
No, Juan, to what Eric said, and Eric's right, exactly. The Washington Post did a study, and they analyzed all the fatal shootings by police this year, 2015, and they found that 95% were justified. And, as Eric said, more whites are killed by police officers than blacks. So this idea that this, Black Lives Matter movement is this real movement based on facts is just not true.
I think it's very factual. I don't think there's any question about
How could you say it's factual when I just cited a Washington Post statistic that refutes that? The Washington Post isn't conservative, Juan.
No. Let me just say, I don't think there's any question about your statistics. I think there's a question about what you're arguing about, because there is no question that this movement has broad support, especially in the black community.
No, it doesn't, Juan. Absolutely not.
That's not true.
Juan, I'm out in the streets every day. I always ask black people, I say, do Black Lives Matter or do all lives matter? I've never heard one black guy say Black Lives Matter. All of them have told me all lives matter.
Maybe they're scared of
I asked that question dozens of times.
Jesse, I'm tired of being interviewed by you. You just keep asking the same question. But
because I keep getting the same answer.
I think all lives matter too. But I'm telling you, in terms of the reality, this movement has some support in the black community. Now, I think, Dana, that this is a difficult issue for someone like Stephen Colbert. I'm surprised he jumped in, because it's a comedian, and he's going to get a backlash. People are going to say, why are you doing that? So why is he doing it?
Well, when he starts off the commentary by saying, without courting any controversy, when actually the whole reason to bring it up is to court controversy. It's not that it's not a relevant topic, and maybe that's what he's hearing a lot about. He's got a platform now. He's got the right to use it however he wants. But you can't say, without courting any controversy, and not actually be trying to get attention for it, because he was. And maybe that's good.
Well, he says
he needs to do something. He needs to do something, right, and get himself out there, because things haven't been going swimmingly. So, he wants to say, oh, yeah, black people, they're not imagining this. And so he's a comedian. He's trying to just, provoke thought and discourse and get in on it. That's how I see it.
Maybe all these Hollywood celebrity types are trying to jump in, but are they all jumping on the left? I guess that would be the question. We need some Jesse Waters. Next.